Hi, welcome back to my channel. I've not posted anything for a little while now, which I apologise for. I do actually have a full-time job other than this, so sometimes it's a bit difficult to find the time. But I have been doing a few things recently, and I posted on social media about a few days ago, last week, with these little mini file folder pockets that I made. I think it's probably on Instagram and Pinterest and all of that. And I didn't do a video for them because I wasn't really planning on doing a project. I just, when I was sat here one day, I just kind of ended up making them. So a few people have asked if there is a video of how to make them, so I thought I would do that today, and just go through the process that I used to make them. I used 8x8 papers for this, and that's the size that they're designed for, but obviously you can make them any size and cut them out of any paper that you like. So I thought if I get straight into it, we're basically going to make a few templates is how I did it. And then obviously once you've got your templates, you can then just keep them and then use them whenever you want to make any of these in whatever papers you want to make them in. So I'm going to go through the process of making the templates, and yeah, then I'm going to cut out an actual, show how I laid out the templates to cut the actual pieces, and then I'm just going to make another one quickly just to show you. But I mean, the making is very simple. As you can see, it's just you know, a folded piece with tabs, and then the cards just are inserted in. So it's just really the templates for the cards and the main envelope, and then yeah, so the actual making is fairly simple. It's just once you've got the templates, then it's obviously very easy. So materials that we're going to need for this, I'll just put those over there, is obviously you want whatever paper you're going to use. I did this because I have some 8x8 paper pads that I don't really ever use, and I was trying to think of a way of using some of them up. So this is what I used for these, and I used basically I used four pieces from the pad, and then ended up making 4 pockets, because then I used one piece of each in each pocket, if you see. So then you get like a kind of mixture of tabs, and they're not all the same. So yeah, it sort of naturally became a set of 4. So I'm going to be using another sheet out of here just to make one today. I'm just going to make one because it's all the same process. So right, so that's what one thing we need. We need some paper or card, anything to make our templates out of. You could do it all in paper and then mount onto some cards so you can keep it, or use some card or packaging or anything really to cut your templates out of. I'm just using some paper. You will need some scissors, pencil, the usual things, ruler or tape measure, and what else will you need? I've used for mine, I have used an envelope punch for the notch shape, but you don't need to. We're making a template, so you could actually make this yourself without the punch, but I just use this because I have it. And you'll need something to score with, whether you've got a scoreboard or just a bone folder or scoring tool, or anything to score really. If you don't have a scoreboard, then I've just scored mine today. I do have a scoreboard, but I just scored mine on my cutting mat. You could use an awl or this kind of tool, but just be very gentle because you don't want to break the surface of your paper. But yeah, anything that you would normally use to score your paper, or you can just fold it if you don't want to score, but I would advise scoring it to get a nice fold. And then you're going to need some double-sided tape or glue to put your pocket together when it's all cut out and scored. And that's about it really. So I'm going to get into making the templates, and we'll go from there. Right, so the first thing is making the template for the actual pocket part. So if I take all the cards out of here, so this is the main pocket, which is just a little rectangle pocket, and you can see I've got tabs here. I've got a tab at the bottom and a tab at one side, and the other side is folded. So I wanted to use as much of the paper pad as possible. So what I've done for my pocket is I've used the whole length of the whole length of the 8 inches, and I've made my pocket onto that. So the main pocket is the whole 8 inches, and then I've drawn a line 3/8 of an inch. I'm doing it in inches today. I usually do centimeters, but seeing as we're using 8x8 paper, then I thought I would go with inches today. So you basically want to draw a line 3/8 of an inch from one side, and then 3/8 of an inch from the bottom. So basically like that. And then from this point to the other side, you want to divide it in half. So it's about 3 3/4 inches that you want to mark there at the top and the bottom. And your height, you go 3/8 of an inch up, and then from that point you go 2 1/4 inches up. I will lay these templates out in a minute and then just leave them there briefly, so that if anyone wants to just take a screenshot or pause it and take down measurements, then you can. So yeah, we've got 3/8 there and then 2 1/4. So that's our whole size for the template. So once we've got that, we've got our line drawn there, line drawn there. We want to cut off the corners for our tabs, because these 3/8 of an inch bits are going to be our tabs for our pocket. So I'm actually working, I always work on the reverse of my paper, but it doesn't really matter, because once you've got your template you can use it whichever way, and it doesn't really matter which side your folded part and your tab is, so it all works. So we want to cut a 45-degree angle across this corner here. So I'm just going to use this ruler because it has a 45-degree angle, and then I'm going to draw a line to cut that off there. So this part is going to be removed, and then here, because we only need our tab on one half of the pocket, So this is going to be the tab. So I'm going to cut. You can do this by eye if you want to. You don't have to use exact angles. It just helps on this side so that when you fold it back, they don't overlap, but you can always trim it later. So, and then we're going to cut off this whole section here to here. So, and then another one. You don't have to do this one, but I think it's neater at the top, and then cut off that corner there. So we want to cut all those pieces off, and then when we've done that, this is the piece that we end up with. So we've got our 2 1/4 inches here, 3 1/4 and another 3 1/4, and then our 2 tabs, which are 3/8 of an inch with the corners cut off, and I didn't cut that corner there on this one, so I'm going to do that now. Okay, so these later on will become our scoring lines, these 3 lines here, and then our pocket will basically be folded over, and then the tabs come in like that. So that's fairly simple, and that's our main pocket part. Now for the cards to go, the little file folder, the little cards to go in, this is the measurements that I've used. I mean, obviously you can change measurements slightly. I've done it so it fits into the 8x8, and obviously this is designed to fit into the pocket, and mine have a little bit that sticks up here above, just because I like having the contrast there, but you can make your pocket a little bit wider and vice versa. It's just so if you want it to come right to that edge, you can change it around. So what we need to do for the template, we're going to have 3 templates in the ends, one for the pocket, and we actually only need 2 for the cards, because if I show you, we only need this end and then the second one. So this goes there and then this goes there, because actually we can use the same templates, turn them over, and then they become the 3rd and the 4th. So we actually need 2 templates here. We need this one, the end one, and we need this one with the tab that's slightly more indented. I've done 4 tabs, but you can obviously measure it differently and do 2 or 3 or so the measurements for this piece are, in total to the top edge is 2 11/16, and then along this edge is 3 5/8 along here. So then that's the whole rectangle right up to the top. And then we want to mark a line down from the top, 3/8 of an inch, the same size as we have for our tabs, and then mark a line across. And that's going to be your main line here. So the top edge here will be the top of the tab, and this line here will be the top of the card here. And you also want to mark another line that's basically in between these. So I think it's, what is it, 3/16, but basically halfway between the top edge and the 3/8 inch line that you drew. And then the only other thing we need to really measure is that I divided this piece into 4. So obviously you can divide that up measurement wise. I just cut another quick one out of paper and then just folded it twice and then just used that because I find it easier. And then you want to mark those points on your middle line there. Okay, so that's all the measurements and markings we need for that. The next thing I am going to use, if I can find it, is a template that I made for the notch, where I used my notch on my envelope punch. So the notch side, you can see there. Basically all you need is a scrap of card. You just need it to have a straight edge along, and then you punch, just punch anywhere. It doesn't matter as long as you've got a bit of a straight edge at either side, and then you've got your notch shape cut out. So we're going to use this to draw the shapes we need onto this template. So why I've marked halfway is because I want my tabs to kind of cross over at the kind of halfway point between like this edge and this edge. I want them to kind of, you can have it so they, you know, come down to the very top here, so they're all cut away. I just like to have them slightly overlapping like that. So then the way that I marked my tabs was just to put this along the straight edge up here. So you've got it running along the straight edge, and then move it until the edge of your notch shape hits that little mark that you made when you divided it up, and then just draw that shape. And I'm going to do the same at the end. So I'm just going to move it along the straight edge. Tell you, you don't need to do the one at the end if you don't want to. I just think it looks nicer. So I'm just going to draw that in there. And we need to make this template, and we need to make the one for this. So that's the first tab. So that's going to be our first tab there. And then we need to make the second one. So for the second one, we're just going to use our template again and just move it along till we hit that line again, but with this side of the shape. And then I'm just going to draw that in. And then I move to the next point, and then we're just going to do the same thing again and do that and draw that line there. So I would cut 2 of these pieces. So cut 2 of these the same size, do the markings on here, and then on one of them you mark this end tab using the template, and then on the other one you mark this one using the template. So, and what we're going to do is when we cut them out, everything that is above this line but leaving the tab is what's going to be cut away on each one. So I'll now show you. So that's the first one, the template that I've made. So it just got the first one, and there's a tab, and then it's all cut away to the other end. And then this is the second one. So it's the second tab, and then it's cut away to that end, and it's cut away to that end. So that is the 2 templates we need for that. So we don't need our notch template anymore, that's done. So I'm just gonna briefly put these two pieces and I'm just going to leave them on the screen for a second. If anyone wants to take a screenshot, when I edit I will try and zoom in a bit so you can get the proper measurements. But that's all the measurements that you need, and then you just want to end up with the 3 templates, the 2 for the cards and the 1 for the pocket. Okay, so just going to move that one out the way. So we've basically got, that's the 3 templates we're going to end up with. We're going to have, that is the first one. So the first one that goes at the one end, that is number 2. And then, like I said, we only need 2 for the 4 cards, because then that becomes number 3, because then this is moved over to this side, number 3, and then this one, if you turn it the other way up, becomes number 4, and it's right at the other end. So you actually only need the 2. You can cut all of the templates if you like, because then when you're laying it out you can just do it all in one go, but you only really need the 3 pieces. So this is all the pieces that we need to make our pocket. And then really what you do, you want to obviously look at your paper and see if it's got a one-way design or which way up you want it to be, because for your pocket especially you want it to be whichever way up it needs to be. So I always mark mine on the back of the paper, but depending on how dark or busy your paper is, you can mark it on the front if you're happy with that. But I'm going to do it on the back. So then really all you need to do is just lay your template. I mean, you don't have to lay them in any particular place, and this is why having a template is good, because you don't have to use 8x8. You can use anything. You can use scraps. You can use a different scrap for every card. If you've got a cut off end, because it's 8 inches, if you've got a cut off end of a piece of paper or a digital, then you can just use that. So we'll just use coffee dyed paper and decorate it all. But basically all you need to do is then draw around your template, and obviously you're going to score along some of these lines here. So I'm just going to mark, so that's where your score lines are going to be. It's going to be this line here, and this line here, and this line here. So you've got your side fold, and then your tab and your tab, and this will be cut away, and this will be cut away, and that will be cut away, and you'll cut along the top edge here. So that's our pocket done. So now for our cards, the way I've done it, obviously you can't get 2 of these across, but because we have the tabs, you can overlap them. What I'm actually going to do is I'm just going to pause for a second and do something to make this easier to see. Okay, so what I've done is I've just, so it makes it easier to see with the white on the white, I've just inked around the template just quickly so you can see the outlines. So what I'm going to do is just place that one in the corner, number 1. I'm going to draw around, obviously depending on your paper, if it's got a direction, things like that. And then you can put this right up next to this. You've got a little bit of room to spare. You could make your pocket bigger if you wanted to. Like I say, if you want your pocket to come up to this level, you have actually got the room to make the pocket a little bit bigger. So yeah, so just lay this down, draw around it. So that's 1 and 2. So then don't forget we need to turn them over to get 3 and 4. So then we'll draw around this one. There. And then draw around this one. Like that. So we've used all of our templates and we've got all of our cards all on the one 8x8 sheet. We've got a little bit of waste. You're going to have a little tiny strip there, but not very much waste on this. So I am going to cut these out and then we'll stick it together. Okay, so I've cut out all of the pieces and this is all of the scrap that I have. So these little pieces here, which I probably won't keep. You have a little strip here that you could use for something. If you're decorating a journal, making things, card making, you can use that for, it's a nice little strip there, but really not a lot of scrap here. So we've used most of the 8x8 paper. I'm going to throw those little bits away. Okay, so we've got, that's our first card, that's the second one, that's the third one, and that's the fourth one. And you can obviously put them in whatever order. So there's our 4 cards. We'll ink around all of these and around some corners. I'm going to put those just to one side for now. This is our pocket piece, and what we want to do is score along. You can score, mark this top edge here and score along on the right side or the wrong side. I mean, it's entirely up to you. Just for this one, I'm gonna, just to make it easy to see, I'm gonna do it on this side. Like I say, if you don't have a scoring tool, you could do this on a scoreboard, but if you don't have anything, you could use something like this. But I would suggest, because you don't want to break the surface of the paper, so I would suggest maybe using it kind of on the side like this and not pressing too hard when you do your scoring. I'm just gonna use this and a ruler. So I do have a scoreboard. I'm just gonna do this quickly without. So I'm just gonna score that, and then that one there, and then that one there. And you can, now you've got your lines actually scored, you could actually just quickly score them on the on this side here if you wanted to. I'd say it doesn't really matter. Sometimes with your paper, if it's a bit more delicate, then you want to score it on the right side, just so it doesn't crack when you fold it. So what we need to do then is fold it in our tabs and just press those down with something. Fold in that tab, press that down with something. And you can see why I cut the 45-degree angle at that side. It's just so that I don't get an overlap with those tabs there, just so they meet nicely on the corner. And then this one just needs to fold over, and I'm just gonna flatten that down. So if you want to do inking, you could ink this after. It's up to you. I'm just going to stick it together and then we're going to do everything afterwards. So what I'm going to need is some glue. Just want to check that my glue is actually coming out properly. Hold on a second. Okay, so I'm just going to fold that in. I'm just going to put a bit of glue onto the tabs. And then I'm just going to fold them over. Just going to hold them in place for a few seconds with this glue. It's fairly fast drying. And I'm just going to grab a little wipe here, a little dry, this is a dry wipe. So I'm just going to get those little bits of glue that I've just pushed out there. Okay, so that is basically our pocket there. As I say, you could glue it with the tabs inside and put this piece on top, but I think it's more, you risk more gluing everything together if you do it that way, because the glue can then seep out inside. You have to be a lot more careful with your glue if you're going to do it that way. And then so I have my 4 cards that then will go into my pocket. Keep them all straight, but I've put them in one at a time. I'm just going to do them one at a time for the sake of this. So 1, 2, 3, and my hands aren't working today, 4. So they all go in there. What I'm going to do next, in actual fact, is I am going to round some corners, because it does make it easier to get them in and out. So you don't need to do any of this. If you wanted to just leave it clean like this, you've got your pocket now, you've got your 4 cards to put in there. You could just leave it like that. I am going to do what I did on the other ones, and that is I'm going to ink around the edges of the pocket and around the edges of the cards, and I'm going to also round the corners off of the cards as well, because I just think it's nicer that way. Obviously these are all the same in this pocket, and that is the reason why I made the 4, so that I would have 1 pocket of each design, and then I can mix up these cards between the 4 and then have 1 of each design in each pocket. So it just, you know, it differentiates just so you've got a bit of different designs in each pocket like that. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm just going to round some corners and then do some inking, and then we will have a look at the finished thing. Okay, so it's all inked. As you can see, I sped up a bit there because I don't think you need to watch me just inking. So I've just inked around the edges of the pocket and just inside the inside edge of the pocket, and then just round all of the cards on the front and on the back. So there we go, and this is obviously what it looks like with, yeah, just all the same paper, but you can mix up and use just different colours or different patterns, or sort of lined paper or coffee paper. Yeah, it's just something you can use once you've got the templates. Once you've got the 3 templates that you need, you can yeah, just if you've got any bits of scraps or anything like that, you can just then use them and just make a few pockets. But I just thought that using the paper pad is actually quite good if you're making a journal, because then you can have something which they all match together, and then you know you can just have it all matching through your journal then, and then so they're all different but they all go together. So yeah, that basically is it. You can, if you want to, obviously change the sizings, blow these up bigger, smaller, just depending on what sizes of paper you're going to be using. If you're using just any paper or bigger pieces of paper, obviously you can make all of these pieces much larger, because you're not constrained by your 8x8 sheet. But I hope that was all easy to understand for everybody. And just going to put this back in here. I hope it all made sense, and I hope you can see all the measurements. As I say, just if you get to the part where I had the templates on the screen, you could just do a screenshot or pause and write them down. But you can probably work them out for yourself. To be honest, it's a fairly simple process. If you just start off with your 8x8 and make the pocket, and then fit everything else in from there. So there's my original 4 pockets, and then now I have another one. So there we go. Thank you so much for watching. I hope everyone enjoyed that. Thanks very much. Bye.